Welcome back to the Talk of Fame podcast. I'm Kylie Montigney, and today we're joined by Sara Director. She is a partner at Barasch McGarry, who handles 9/11 victim compensation fund claims as well as complex personal injury cases. Sara joined Barasch and McGarry in 2006 and earned her partnership in 2018 after demonstrating her dedication and commitment to the firm's clients, resulting in numerous multi-million dollar recoveries. Sara, a 9/11 survivor, interacts with the firm's 9/11 clients daily, from their initial phone call to submitting their claims to the Victim Compensation Fund. Sara takes hands-on approach to her cases, working directly with our clients and to ensure that they feel comfortable with the process and that their voices are heard. Her own 9/11 experience provides her unique insight and compassion toward her clients. From day one until the case is resolved, Sara is a fierce advocate and has demonstrated herself to be a champion for 9/11 and accident victims. Drawing upon her 2 decades of court litigation experience, she has successfully won multiple appeals for her 9/11 clients. Her persistence, legal insight, and personal attention to every client have enabled her to win even the most challenging of appeal situations. She's also been honored to lecture at numerous 9/11 related events to help spread the word about the Victim Compensation Fund and World Trade Center Health Care Program. In addition to her 9/11 work, her practice includes all types of general negligence cases with the emphasis on line of duty accidents on behalf of all the FDNY and NYPD, as well as motor vehicle trips and falls, premise liability, and labor community, earning her a place as a rising star in the 2012, 13, 14, 15 in Super Lawyer 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 2022, in addition to Super Lawyers magazine. She's also been asked to lecture to her peers in the legal community on various legal topics. Welcome to the show, Sara. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, can you start off by telling us your journey? What initially inspired you to pursue a career in law, specifically personal injury and 9/11 victim advocacy? I know, as we were talking about earlier, you were in law school when 9/11 happened, right in New York City. So, what was that experience like, and what initially got your experience into going into law?
So I always knew I wanted to help people and be the voice for those that didn't have a voice. I find much fulfillment in being an advocate for those that need a lawyer. I went to New York Law School that was located on Worth Street, which was a couple blocks from the World Trade Center. I was in my third year at New York Law on September 11th, 2001. It was a normal day like any other day. It was a beautiful September day when the planes crashed into the towers and the towers fell. I, along with my classmates and thousands of other New Yorkers, ran when the towers collapsed to avoid the oncoming dust cloud. It was surreal. It didn't feel like it was happening. It was like a movie set. No one could believe that we were witnessing what we were witnessing that day. As we were running, we heard that other buildings were hit. We were told the Pentagon was hit. We were told the White House was hit. And many of us feared that they were coming back to Lower Manhattan to kill us all. In the days and weeks that followed, my law school reopened about 3 weeks later. And people started coming back into Lower Manhattan because we were told the air was safe, which we've come to learn is one of the biggest lies ever told to those who lived, worked, went to school, and volunteered in Lower Manhattan after 9/11. Being granted the opportunity to work on behalf of the 9/11 community, be it survivors or first responders, is the greatest accomplishment really of my life. I'm a 9/11 survivor. I'm part of the community, as is majority of my law partners at Barasch McGarry. Barasch McGarry is located on a Park Place in the shadows of where the towers once stood. My partners were at work that fateful day. They also had to escape and run from the dust cloud. So when Barasch McGarry says we take 9/11 personally, it's because we are part of the 9/11 community. When we advocate on behalf of our clients, we're advocating on behalf of ourselves. Every bill that is passed, every success the community gains is a success for us personally and that of our clients.
Like with that, like I like whenever you're in New York City when it happened, or you're in one of the states or different country, it was so hard, I know, for a lot of people to watch it on TV or to be in the city during that time. I know I was in love during that time. So I can't really speak of experience like maybe you or your coworkers had. But I know for a lot of people that were in the city during that time, I know it was so hard for a lot of people to recover from that. Like, no one ever recovers from that situation because it feels like you said, a horror movie. Like, you would never think, like, oh, the World Trade Centers will ever get attacked, ever, as it's one of the tallest, or was one of the tallest buildings in the world. And you would think, like, that's not gonna happen to us. That's kind of like a people's worst nightmare. And when that happened, New York City kind of never was the same after the attacks. It was never like the place it was that morning before the plane to the towers. It was like the vibe and the way people acted was so different, and you can tell after the planes and towers were falling, people just stood together. Like everyone was kind of having everyone's backs, and like things have never been the same since then. But as a 9/11 survivor, like how has your personal experience shaped the way you advocate for your clients?
Being a 9/11 survivor gives me a unique perspective on what my clients are going through. I understand the feelings they feel. I understand the fear of being diagnosed with one of the 69 cancers that have been linked to the toxins. I understand the fear that you may die as a result of your 9/11 illness and leave your family without financial support. So because of that special connection and unique connection that myself and many of those at Barasch McGarry have, we're able to truly step in the shoes of our clients and fight for their rights because we're fighting for our own rights.
I love that. Like I know like with the smoke from the 9/11 towers, it has formed a lot of cancer. I know a lot of people after 9/11 were diagnosed. Like, do you think cancer like has impacted the most with people of um the victims of 9/11, or what impact do you think like do you see people having after the 9/11 attacks?
It's a multitude of results that happen from 9/11. If we're speaking about just physical illness, there's 69 cancers that have been linked to the toxins. There's a host of respiratory illnesses, including asthma, COPD, emphysema, interstitial lung disease, sarcoidosis. Skin cancer is one of the number one cancers that's linked to the toxins. In addition, I would say majority of my clients suffer from PTSD, having lived through that day. And it's not just that day. You can be found eligible if you lived or worked or went back to school during the 8 months after 9/11. So it's not just our hero first responders that are eligible for the two governmental programs, the World Trade Center Health Program and the Victim Compensation Fund. So 9/11 taught America a lot of things. That one, we are unfortunately not safe from outside threat. It also taught us that unfortunately some of our governmental officials can lie to us, telling us the air was safe. But now looking back 2 decades later, we have the governmental programs, the health program and the VCF in place to provide support, to provide health care, and to provide some financial compensation to those that went back to Lower Manhattan during the 8 months, that got the economy back on its feet, that went back to their jobs, that teachers went back to teaching their students. they could not have closed all of Lower Manhattan for 8 months. And everyone that did go back, which is approximately 500,000 people, are suffering the consequences of that and will continue to suffer.
Gosh, that's crazy. Because I know, like you said earlier, like you never know what's going to happen. Like you can't just sit around and wait until a government official or something on the news to see what's happening, or because you never know what's going to happen, every day. You just can't sit back and wait. I know, like you said, the air quality in New York was, not the best after 9/11 attacks. Like I don't know how it was like living there like with for you. But I know from what I've learned, the air quality like was doomed for like a few weeks to months, right?
So actually, the air quality was horrendous after September 11th, and it remained so for approximately 8 months thereafter.
Oh, that long?
Yes, that long.
That's crazy. 'Cause I know it was kind of like all gray in the city like a few days after, but I didn't know it lasted for 8 months. So that's crazy.
That is why the Victim Compensation Fund provides compensation for those that can prove that they spent a sufficient amount of time below Canal Street during the 8 months after 9/11.
Like how do they help them with that? Like do they have like a specific resource to people who've been through that, or how does that work?
9/11 first responders and survivors have the ability to access two governmental programs, the first one being the World Trade Center Health Program. This is an entity that will evaluate whether you are eligible based upon your presence. They will evaluate your medical condition, review your medical records, and provide a full physical examination to determine if you are certified with having a 9/11 related illness. If you're deemed certified through the health program, you are entitled to health insurance for that particular condition. You can go for annual examinations, and you have access to very knowledgeable doctors who are very familiar with the types of conditions seen in the 9/11 community. So it is a specialized resource provided to the 9/11 community. Once
Because there's not a
certified,
lot of resources that are like that, like to specifically help the survivors of 9/11, whether you're in the city, first responders, or we're in the towers that might have escaped. Like it's amazing to see how like these organizations really help the people in terms of their needs when they need it the most. But to go back, what were some of the biggest challenges 9/11 survivors and their families face when navigating these claims? To go back to the last question.
one of the biggest challenges, there's multiple challenges they face. One is if they're in the midst of battling one of the 9/11 cancers or respiratory illness, the last thing they want to do is deal with administrative procedures and requirements that the federal government has. And that's why having a firm like Barasch McGarry be their advocate and doing the heavy lifting for them so they can concentrate on their health care, on their families, on their jobs, on the things that are most important to them. Another big challenge they face is proving their exposure. For some, it's very easy. They work down there, they have employment records, or they have a school transcript. For those that might have only been in Lower Manhattan on September 11th and got caught in the dust cloud on that day, my clients certainly were not taking down the names and numbers of those that were running for their lives with them. So being able to prove your exposure is becoming more and more difficult as we get further away from 9/11. It's certainly easier for some, but for a big part of the population, it is hard. It's going to become harder as more and more people pass away, records get destroyed, and memories fade.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. I can't like you describe it in so a great way, so I can literally add more to that. But like the last thing I have to ask you is where can listeners connect with you or learn more about the work being done at Barish and McGarry?
So they can visit our website, 911victims with an S.com, 911victims with an S.com, to learn more about the World Trade Center Health Program, the Victim Compensation Fund, and the issues that are facing the community. Barasch McGarry, one of our main goals is to help spread the word to each and every person affected by the 9/11 toxins, be them still living in New York or perhaps they moved to a different state, to a different country, spreading the word is something that we really take very seriously because the CDC estimates about 500,000 people were affected by the toxins, and we want to make sure each one of them knows their rights and take advantage of the programs that are available to them.
Oh, perfect. So I'll put the link below for you guys to check out if you're interested in learning more information and everything about Barasch McGarry. I totally recommend checking it out if you have any questions or want to learn more information. But thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on and taking time. And thank you so much for everything you do. And talking about your experience, it means so much, and you're making such a difference.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
Of course. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.